Masterclass, Metallica. This is the breakdown of Master of Puppets, basically, and how they approach that song and how that song has been. I mean, Master of Puppets is probably my favorite Metallica record. I always go back and forth between all, really, but um, that record and that song in particular is the centerpiece of like what Metallica is and where Metallica does as far as just musicianship and speed and aggression, and then there's a low point in the middle that builds back up to a fast ending, and it's just sort of what Metallica is in a way. The song, the song is just like a. Kirk mentions it that it's a challenge, and it sometimes it just goes off on its own, and then you need to. It's something that needs to be they work on still, and it's still something that's he hasn't feel they've completely conquered, and that's I think that's interesting. That's something like Rush with Tom Sawyer. They would Neil Peart would always say it's a hardest song to play, and it's always satisfying when you can get it all right. I think it's interesting that you write a song and it's not completely under your control, and you're completely the I guess master, for lack of a better term, the master of the song, and it just not necessarily has a mind of its own, but if you don't approach it properly, you don't get what you want out of it. So seeing them talk about Master Puppets like that and how that song is like, if you just with Metallica, of course, we're lucky enough to have all of this video of them for decades of them playing particular songs even, and watching them change over the years and how they approach the song. I noticed watching live stuff from this past tour, which is now a few years ago. James playing the main verse riff for Master Puppets, and he doesn't play the entire power chord and move it. He just hits the low E on it and just uh, does the dun 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 dun. Dun. He does that, but just with a single string. While Kirk is usually playing the other part fully. So it's interesting to see how, and he'll talk about how downpicking is what they really want, because that is a percussive element, and it just feels more aggressive, and it just feels heavier. I always end up trying to downpick everything if I can, but some days you you just don't have it, or I don't know. But um, seeing seeing them talk about that song is nice, and seeing the idea of that this is it's still uh, a challenge and still something that makes them work is interesting. So Metallica Masterclass, that was the dissection, I guess, of Master of Puppets.